I've been walking beneath streetlights. I've been walking, cause I can't find peace on these nights. I've been walking, but my strides are getting slower. Still I'm walking, but I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for love, but only found deception. Told my secrets to some people who have not kept them. I don't want money. I don't want cars. I don't want money. I don't want cars. You are, the time the best is too fast. The truth, wrapped up in excuses. You are the weeds that pull the group back. The strings upon my heart, but you know that. Cause you pull them, yes you pull them till I cry out.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Sisters Against Kidney Disease. I am your co-host, Audrey Bella Langston, and have I got a great show for you tonight. The last time we got together, I shared a bit about my journey towards receiving the gift of life from my godson, Roger. Well, tonight is also about the gift of life which was received. However, it has a totally different twist, a random act of kindness that was achieved at the encounter at a traffic stop light. Two people who totally didn't know each other. Wow, this is going to be good. Okay, so before I actually bring out my guest, I want to bring on my wonderful co-host tonight. We all know and love Mr. Jared Brown of Warriors Quest. Come on out here, Jared.
I'm my own enemy.
Let's bring it. Let's bring it.
All right. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm well. Thanks, man. I'm so happy to be here.
I know, man. This show is going to be off the chain, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
really. I am just really fired up about it for sure. So before we actually bring our donor out, his name is Alan Gutcher, and he resides here in Tampa. Alan is the owner and operator of Beacon Baseball Bat Company. Yes, he actually makes baseball bats, and they are beautiful. I know, right? How cool is that?
Yeah, that's so cool.
Apparently, it is. And you know, he shared that he has actually been working as a wood sculptor enthusiast since he was actually in the 7th grade. He is married to a lovely lady named Carol, and they have 2 kids, Danny and Carly. And also, I think what's really cool is prior to Alan getting into the baseball bat making business, he was a scuba diving instructor. Now, that's something I always wanted to do that I have not done yet. I know. So he's just got this really awesome background. So it's not really any surprise that, to me, why he actually became a donor. I mean, I look at a person who has been into scuba diving. He was also, if I'm not mistaken, a licensed instructor on safety, you know, while swimming and diving. So that means that's somebody that saves lives, that prevents people, you know, from drowning. So yeah, let's bring him on out.
All right, let's do that. Hold on, let me bring him on. We're gonna bring him, let's give a very special guest welcome.
Hello, Alan.
Hey, Bella, how are you?
I'm good. I'm
Thanks-
good. Thank
thanks
you
for having
so
me on
much.
today. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
on
man,
today.
thank you. We're very happy that you're here. I know this story has gotten so much media coverage, which is really awesome. And I know I just totally enjoyed reading it. Jared and I were actually both talking about that. What an amazing story that it is. And so before we actually bring your friend, your recipient, that one that carries that amazing kidney that you gave him, Patrick Nielsen is his name. He was a hospitality manager prior to starting the testing process for his kidney transplant, which he received this year, guys, May 12th. So he's a transplant newbie. I love him because they're always hyped up. Because I was hyped up right after I got my transplant, and so I know he's feeling great, and I know that he's going to share that with us. He's married to a lovely woman who was very instrumental in his process of getting this transplant. Her name is Patsy, and so Patsy, in my opinion, actually spearheaded this whole thing with the advertising on the back of the SUV window. When Patrick was in need of a kidney, which was such a wonderful idea to come up with. So they are both here to talk about this wonderful gift of life. So I'd like everyone to welcome Patrick and Patsy Nielsen.
All right, I'm bringing them on straight across. Here we go. Welcome.
Hi,
Hello.
guys.
How you doing?
How are you? Good. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much. Thanks, guys, for joining us to share this wonderful story that you guys have. And so I'm going to kick it off with you, Alan. I call it the wonderful saga that began. Now, correct me in anything I may be wrong about, but this initially began at a traffic stoplight where it seemed like, I'm not going to call it road rage, but maybe a little road agitation.
That is correct.
Everybody. We'll just call it road agitation that you were having, being behind, sitting behind the Nielsen family vehicle. So roll with it. Tell us all about how this started.
Okay, well, it started out the day before Thanksgiving of last year. And, like the story goes, I was coming home from Lowe's, and there was a traffic light right outside of Lowe's. And I was in the middle lane. I had traffic on either side, and there was a person sitting in the vehicle in front of me looking at their phone through a complete green light. And I was just laying on the horn. I was saying things through the windshield that, I probably shouldn't have said.
PG-13.
But, it's one of the things that, again, God has plans for us. And she looked up right as the light was turning yellow and sped through the intersection. And so I stayed there for another complete, series of lights. And had that not happened, I would have never not run into, but I had gotten behind Patsy's car at the next set of traffic lights. So it is an amazing thing that I always even tell my kids when they're learning to drive that maybe there's a reason that you got caught at that red light. We may never know. Maybe you avoided an accident down the road. Maybe you avoided something else. Prevented you from getting rear-ended. So we just never know. So we can't really get aggravated like I did at that traffic light, but it all worked out in the long run, and it worked out great. So as I get up to this traffic light, the next one, Patsy, that I have no idea who she is at this time, she's sitting in front of me at the light, and I notice on the back of her car, she's got vinyl letterings, very nicely done. It says, "My husband needs an O positive kidney." Had a phone number and a Facebook page next to it. And she was turning left, and I was turning left behind her. And as we made our way down the road, she turned into a little housing complex, and I went on my merry way to the house about 1.5 miles away later. About halfway home, my truck turned itself around. And, I catch myself saying, "Alan, what are you doing? Where are you going?" And before I know it, I'm in her complex, driving up and down all the parking areas, looking for this very distinctive lettering in the back of somebody's vehicle.
Okay.
And it was literally the very last row of cars that I saw her vehicle in. So I pulled in, I rolled the window down on my truck, I snapped a picture of the back of the window, and I started backing out. And I said, it's a holiday weekend coming up. Maybe that they're got something going on. I know I got 18 people showing up at the house tomorrow. I got a house to clean. My wife and daughter are cooking. I need to get going. I'll call them on Monday. And once again, the good voices in my head said, stop and do it now, because Monday's 4 days away. You're not going to remember it. And so I did. So I rolled, I stopped and I called, and Patsy answered the phone, and then I'll let her pick up the story from there.
Wow. Let me just jump in and say, see, that just blows me away, right? I mean, and you're talking, man, that was so God, in my opinion. And I mean, just from the time of how he turned that around from your agitation to having you follow her, get right back behind her. You see that advertisement on her car, and then decide to, and you were almost, I think you said, 1.5 miles away from home, right? Yes. That's a pretty nice ways.
Yeah,
that was the Holy Spirit. Turned your vehicle around, and you happened to find the exact complex that they reside in. And I know a lot of complexes, there's lots of cars,
Right, yes.
And you hone in again on that car, on their car, and get that advertisement. And not only that, you take the info, but then you're going to put it off again and head on your merry way. And that wonderful godly voice tells you, no, I said do this now. You need to call now, because we don't know what, it's possible that Patrick could have got sicker over those 4 days. So, wow, that is just so awesome. Right. So Patsy, pick up from where he left off.
So let's see, I answered the phone, and it was Alan, and he said, hey, I just, was driving behind your car. I saw that your husband needs a kidney. Can you give me some information? And I gave him the information for Tampa General, gave him Patrick's name and date of birth. And, I just said, just keep us updated if you decide to go forward with the testing and if you're a match. And then from there, I didn't hear back from Alan probably for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And he told me that his blood type was a match and that he was moving on to the next stage of testing. And from there, it just kind of, we text back and forth. Didn't talk back on the phone again until I want to say February 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, Alan. That's when you went back to, that's when you had your first transplant appointment all day.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, and then at that point, we decided, I told Patrick, Patrick decided he didn't want to have phone conversations yet because it's a lot to get yourself worked up, and not know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
we waited the 2 weeks until the case went in front of the board. And then on Valentine's Day, I received a call from Alan letting us know that he was able to give up a kidney for Lent. So.
Wow, that's amazing. So Patsy, so I'm assuming, and I believe you did you spearhead the idea of advertising for a kidney for Patrick on the vehicle? And if that's correct, how did that come about? What made you do that?
Well, we first had, I did come up with the idea. I've seen it on other cars. Didn't know what the success rate was of it. At first, before we were married, it just said, need a kidney hero, is that you, with our phone number and email. We didn't really get many responses from that. We got married, and then about 2 or 3 weeks later, I said, I'm going to change this and make it more personal. So I did, and then that's pretty much where we started getting most of our responses. from there, we put one on his dad's truck. His dad had one that said, "My son needs an O positive kidney with our information." His aunt had one, and so did his cousin.
Wow. Yes. That's amazing. And so, so Patrick, tell us, we haven't heard from you. First of all, congratulations. You guys are newlyweds. Let me say that first and foremost. Yay.
Yes.
Wow. What a blessing to really get, oh my gosh. So Patrick, tell us a little bit about your journey, how your journey began with kidney disease.
It was a surprise, actually. I started getting very ill, so I went to go see a nephrologist. With that being said, they did some tests on me, and he said, "You need a new kidney now. So we need to call Tampa General and get you going right away." With that process, all the testing we started, we realized that with my diabetes, I've had, for 20, 25, 26 years at the time, it did block. I had a lot of blockages in my heart. So it went from needing a kidney to now needing a quintuple bypass.
Wow.
So with the testing for that, they ended up shooting my kidneys out of commission right away. So right before my my bypass, we had to start on dialysis. That was on December 3rd of 2017.
Wow. And excuse me, and did you do hemo, Patrick, dialysis?
Correct. At first we did it in the clinic, 3 days a week. And then from there, Patsy picked me up one day from dialysis, and she saw them doing the home hemo and doing some information on it. And they said how much better it was for, somebody like me. I was a good candidate. And with her being able to work from home, it worked perfect for us. Our spare bedroom that we were fixing up as an office, we tore it all down, and it became a clinic. So, dialysis 5 days a week at home.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, and you had yours at the wonderful Tampa General Hospital. Correct. I believe you said. Yeah. Now, Patsy, with everything that, I should say currently with regard to COVID-19, were you able to be there through the whole thing with him? Because actually, if this had not happened, I would have met you guys. I'm a volunteer also at Tampa General, and that was part of my job. I go around and saw the patients on the 7th, 8th, and 9th floors. Those are the transplant floors. Wow. What floor were you on? What floor were you on? Do you remember?
I do not remember.
I think he was on 7.
Okay,
I think it was 7.
So I just love the fact that even though I didn't get to meet you guys in that capacity, wow, here you are, on my show. Exactly. So were you able to be there, or did they even lock that down?
I had to drop him off at 5:30 the morning of transplant and not see him again until I picked him up to be discharged.
I know that was hard. Was that hard?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
I know it was. I know it was hard. And Patrick, I'm not sure if were you aware when you woke up about, as far as that Patsy wasn't there, because I'm assuming you kind of knew that ahead of time, or no?
I didn't know ahead of time. I do remember waking up in pain and calling for her, asking her where she was. But, once the little green button and ease the pain a little bit started working, I realized that she wasn't able to.
Yeah, I wasn't even.
Yeah, trust me, ma'am. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they didn't even have a room where you could wait.
No, I just had to come home and wait for the doctor to call.
Really?
Wow. That's wow. That's a lot.
It was pretty tough.
I know it was, because it was obviously not my experience, but I just, as far as even Patrick, all people that go in that have a transplant, I think the greatest part and the most comforting part, let me say, the most comforting part is seeing your family, all your family that's there to support you before you go. And then you would want to see them actually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because truth be told, we don't know what the actual outcome would be.
Right.
So I commend you guys for that, even because that would have been really a difficult decision, No, it wouldn't, because you want that kidney. So I take that back. I totally recant that statement.
Yeah.
I recant that. I don't mean that, but that is still very commendable. So Alan, was there ever a moment when you felt hesitant or I don't want to say regretful, but like a little, like where you were like, oh, do I really want to do this? Am I ready for this? Tell me about that, as well as Carol, because she's not on here with us. So was she, gung-ho for, very supportive of you doing this?
To answer your question, there was never a moment of hesitation whatsoever. After I got done speaking with Patsy on the phone, and she had texted me the link to the Tampa General transfer portal, like I said, that was Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and I came straight into the house and I sat at the computer and I started filling all this information out. And my wife asked, "What are you doing?" And I said, "It could be something, could be nothing. I don't know. I'll tell you later." Thursday came and went. We had a great time with our family for Thanksgiving. Friday came around and I got the call from Tampa General. I answered a bunch of questions on the phone. I was on the phone for about 45 minutes. They said, "Sounds like you're a great candidate. We're going to proceed on with testing." And so that's the time where I said, you know what? I need to let my wife know what's going on. And so it was that evening as we were getting ready for bed, and I said, hey, remember that thing about that computer thing I was doing? Well, I'm thinking about donating a kidney to a total stranger, someone that needs it. And the first words out of her mouth is, "That's really cool. Wow. Are you doing this for Ron?" So, Jared, this is probably where I'm going to get a little emotional that we talked about earlier. I had a best friend of mine growing up since we were young adults. I met a fellow by the name of Ron Helfrich. We were both volunteer divers at the Lowry Park Zoo when they first opened up their manatee exhibit. And he and I would arrive on Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. and basically dive in the manatee exhibits and clean it up from the week before of what manatees do in the wild to get it ready for the weekend. And we became very good, close friends. As a matter of fact, he and his wife were my best couple in our wedding. And I actually borrowed his wife's engagement ring to propose to my wife. And I said, this is not the ring for you. It's a borrowed one, but we're going to go pick one out together. So during our career of diving, Ron ended up with an ear infection from diving. It turned into a blood disease, which then ravaged both of his kidneys. And he went on dialysis, ended up receiving a cadaver kidney, and it lasted him for 15 years. We were still very close at this time, and as his kidney started to fail, he went back on dialysis, and he actually became, for the lack of a better term, and he even called himself a guinea pig with Tampa General. He went on this plasmapheresis testing where we were trying to clean out his blood to get ready for a new kidney. And he says, "Alan, it feels like I'm getting liquid fire injected into my blood for about 3 hours. Wow. 4 days a week." And I said, "Well, I've got a kidney. I'll give you one." Fortunately, his brother stepped up and gave him one. And again, looking back, God had a plan for me. I just didn't know it was going to be 20 some odd years later. So Ron passed away about 5 years ago of heart disease, but he lived a very long, wonderful life. His second kidney was going on 15 years and still going strong when he passed away. So I kind of, in a way, I had put Ron, I can't say out of my brain, but it was that subliminal message that when I saw Patsy's car that triggered something that said, I got to do this for my buddy Ron. He's not here to help, so why can't I help Patrick? And that's what. So my wife, my two kids have been 100% on board the entire process. And when you said, is there ever a doubt because of this COVID-19? Our original surgery date was postponed originally, and then canceled altogether. And Bella, being a volunteer at Tampa General, every time I went in for testing or whatever, the first question is, do you still want to do this? You can back out at any time. And I said, absolutely not. There's no way we're going to do this. I've been taking really, really good care of this kidney for a long time. So no matter what it takes, when Patrick's ready to get it, he'll get it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, it sounds like, just based on your journey and your friendship with Ron, it was almost like a no-brainer for you, to do that, and how this situation presented itself again, but in a total stranger. That is just so heartwarming.
So encouraging.
It is. It's so encouraging. And I just, Jared, how we're always, that's one of our main purposes when we do our shows, is to just for the public and everyone else to see those that may not be donors. It's not as bad as people like to make it. It's really not. And that was going to lead me into my next question for you, Alan, if you could share a little bit about some of your post-operative experience.
It's all been great.
Patsy's over there laughing. Patsy and Patrick are laughing. They're laughing.
I kind of went in with this going, this is going to be a no-brainer. I had knee replacement surgery a couple of years ago, and that went awesome because they fixed something that was broken. I had some abdominal surgery before that also, and I felt great after that because they pulled something out of me that wasn't doing well. So I'm going to go, wow, this could be no big deal. And little did I know that the 36 hours after that surgery, I was going, there's something that they don't tell you that, you're not going to feel really, really well. And even the nurses would come in and just say, we think that anybody that donates a kidney, that is like the hardest surgery to recover from. And I'm going, oh, now you tell me. But you know what? In the whole scope of things, here we are almost 6 weeks later. I feel awesome. I feel fantastic. If I had 3 kidneys, I'd give up another one.
Nice.
It's that important for other people. There's a reason God gave us 2 organs.
Yes.
And
Amen.
live with one, but you can't live without one. And so I don't mind giving one up. And anybody that is on the verge of going, well, I don't know, you don't realize how good you feel afterwards, because you literally are changing somebody's life.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to need you, though, to stop stealing my lines about God giving us 2. I always say that. He gave us 2 for a reason, and the perfect area to pay. Patrick, by the way, where is your kidney? I like to ask people where their house is at.
My left side.
All right, hold on. Let me put you solos. Show it again.
My left side, right here.
All right.
That's right. That's where mine. I've met people where it's on the right, but actually the majority of people I meet, it's on the left. And so, Alan, that's exactly kind of what my godson, said. He said the worst part for him, remember, Jared, he said, was the below, the air. Right.
Yes.
The gas is what he said.
Gas.
Yeah. The gas was just like the worst part. So let's see. I think this question was was going to be for Patsy. Meanwhile, if our audience would like to ask our guests any questions, please chime in with that now text, and we'll try to get to as many as we can, because I want you guys to ask anything that you might like to know as well. So Patsy, no, actually this is for Patrick. Patrick, during this whole process, from the time you were diagnosed, because it's, you know, unfortunately yours ended up carrying over into that issue with your heart, and that's a lot of major stuff to deal with right there. What kept you encouraged during that time? How did you keep yourself uplifted? I like to ask this of all potential recipients, because we all have this experience that we go through prior to transplant. A lot of the issues we deal with emotionally and physically could be the same, but then sometimes some people deal with certain things that I may not have dealt with, or someone else.
Well, I've dealt with hospitals and things like that for most of my life, with, you know, diabetes at 12 years old, epilepsy at 13. So I've always had to manage myself and in and out of the hospital, becoming my own nurse, basically, you know, knowing what to do, when to do. Between that and this one right here next to me is, you know, our thing was, we can get through this. Next step, we can get through this as well. So whatever we went through, we just didn't think about, you know, why us? We just, what do we have to do to get past it? Yeah. Amen. Patsy, was there ever a time when he was a little grumpy? I was grumpy sometimes. Really? Was that during dialysis or what?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about it.
Dialysis just, I don't want to say made him like sad or depressed, but he definitely wasn't his happy-go-lucky self, because, you know, I'm not sure if you had a catheter or a fistula, but with the dialysis catheter that he had, he couldn't just go jump in the pool or jump in the ocean or go hunting in the tree stand like he would like to do, you know, for a week on end, because he had to be here every other day for dialysis. So it was kind of like sitting back and watching someone take all the fun out of their life and replacing it with sitting in a chair. But you know what? We got through it. We, you know, hunting for 2 days at a time instead of 4 or 5, and going to the ocean only waist deep. You know, you figure it out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually did PD and peritoneal dialysis, and which was done through my abdomen. So I did have a catheter from the abdomen. I'm not sure where Patrick's was at, but
this was in his shoulder.
Oh yeah, and you have to really be careful with those, as well as the one in the abdomen, as well as that one. And so it does damper your spirits, because you're not, you can't do the things that you were normally accustomed to doing, because it's so dangerous of infection. So I totally understand that. So Patrick, I know starting out, I was on just a plethora of medications. Are you still, have yours, tell us about your meds. Have they started to taper down yet, or? Some of them have tapered down, still a lot, about 40 a day. 40? Yeah. Wow, yeah. But it's a lot better than dialysis, or the way I feel is great. You got that right. You've got that right. It really is. It really is. And what is your immunosuppressants that you're on? You know, I'm drilling you to see if you know your meds. I need to get my list.
It's CellCept and Prograf.
See, that's your go-to girl right there. She knows it. Oh, that's right. That's exactly what I'm on too. Those are actually the most popular ones. CellCept and Prograf, yeah, but they'll start to taper down as your transplant starts to get further out. Yeah. So do you guys hang out a lot? I mean, are you just like really, like, as I call it, my best friends, I call them like my homie G's, you know?
Alan is my brother.
Yeah, We text at least once a day or every other day at the very latest, sometimes multiple times during the day. We've had dinner together several times. I know that my wife and I have said this in private, and I don't know if we've said it in front of Patrick, but what an amazing turnaround he's had since his surgery. His color's much better. The dark bags under his eyes are all gone. Last Tuesday, we met at a restaurant for a first time and had dinner, and I hardly recognized Patrick when I walked in.
Wow.
So great. I said, "What did you do? Did you get a haircut? What is it's just awesome to see. But yeah, so and we're getting together hopefully this weekend with Patrick's mom and dad and Patsy's mom and dad and us, and have just a good all-American 4th of July barbecue together.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I know Patrick too, and that's wonderful. As a new recipient, and even and I'm sure, I know TGH, I know they ran down everything to you. They are very thorough. Be careful, wear your mask. Yeah, that's really important, especially with you being a new recipient as well. So I just think that's awesome. And not that it surprised me that you guys were going to have a relationship. Some people choose though to remain anonymous, believe it or not. There are people who randomly donate and they do not even want that person, the recipient, to know who they are. They don't want that. So the ones who I have seen that, have done that and are perfectly aware, such as you guys' situations, end up being such great friends. It's like, how can you not, because of him, you are here and well again. Right? Jared, go ahead. I want to see, if you have anything to ask, as well as the audience.
Yeah, I just every time I interview either a donor or recipient or both, I just get so encouraged because of, nearly every person, Alan, that I interview that's a donor, nearly every single one of them shares that same sort of that story about how they feel so much better as a person for having done it. Yeah. They feel like their life has more purpose, and that they, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them, it's almost like it's a spiritual journey for them. And I love that. I do. So Lisa had a question, though. I wanted to just bring this up here. So did your blood pressure ever drop? Was that a key for you, Patrick?
After surgery or prior to surgery?
I'm not sure which
maybe during dialysis.
During dialysis, I did have some issues with low pressure.
Okay.
So I had to keep an eye on it, sometimes cut it a little shorter. My pressure normally stayed pretty good on the lower end. So dialysis drains everything out of you and wipes you down. After the surgery, I did have to go to ICU for a couple days because my pressure wasn't getting back up to what it should be. But as soon as I put it in ICU, it was back to normal, and I was able to get back to a normal room.
Okay, and are you type 1 or type 2 diabetes?
Type 1.
Okay, type 1. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so you're still having to take insulin, or how has that affected your diabetes since then?
Correct. I still take the insulin.
Right.
That's not an issue at all.
Good.
All right.
Good.
Well, I guess my only other question is, so how far apart do y'all live? I mean, what's the distance like?
1 mile.
Yeah, we're about a mile apart, yeah. And one of the unique things, even though we live a mile apart, my wife and I, we walk probably 5 days a week, and we walk right past that apartment complex.
Oh, wow.
The townhome complex. And
that is so cool.
For the entire time that I was being tested, we never saw Patsy's car again. We saw it that one day and that one day only.
Really?
And we would walk by, and I would say, Carol, they live back in there somewhere. But you would think that we passed each other and everything, but we never did. And
Right.
again, that's what I think. It's so unique that
Yeah.
God put me in the right place at the right time.
Definitely.
My wife, we've always had this saying that we can plan our life out. We can say, we're going to be here next week. We're going to be at this position next month. We're going to be at this position 5 years from now. And then she says, and then God laughs at us because he's got there it is. Had a year ago, had somebody asked me, hey, you're going to give a kidney to a total stranger, I would have looked at him like I had 3 heads. But here we are,
Uh-huh.
and it's great. I couldn't be happier.
Nice.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Just very briefly, one more question is so did either one of you, the recipient or donor, did either one of you have any complications post surgery, whether that's physically or emotionally?
No, other than a little bit of discomfort and a little bit of pain, just from the incision and the surgery. I felt great as soon as it was over with. I started feeling better the next day.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, everybody talks about being bloated. Yes. And I went through that with that air pain.
Oh my gosh.
And the nurses were saying, you got to walk, and it gets better. And I was just like Patrick was. I was alone at the hospital. I had nobody in the room with me. I was walking up and down the hallways by myself, feeling like I had these, sandbags on my shoulder. But every time you walked, it went away. And they said, they scheduled me for a 2-week follow-up. And literally on the morning of my 2-week follow-up, I woke up and I'm going, wow, I feel good. I really feel good.
Nice.
And I guess the doctors know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. TGH is the bomb for
Yeah.
transplantation. They really, really are. And that another thing, and I forgot to ask you, how was Carol during that time, as far as the same thing like I asked Patsy? I mean, I'm sure she must have been climbing the walls a little bit, not being able to be there with you.
She was able to keep herself somewhat busy. Carol is a school teacher, and since about March 15th or whatever, she was starting. She's a speech and language pathologist, so she was given speech therapy over the computer through Zoom and that kind of stuff. So she literally dropped me off at the hospital, gave me a kiss goodbye, and came home and sat in front of the computer. And she was able to focus with her students and that kind of stuff to at least keep her mind off what was going on. And she was even talking to some of the parents going, hey, if I get a call from Tampa General, I may just have to cut the session short. And it turned out to be perfect that she got the call post-surgery that everything was fine right in between her speech session. So it all worked out well. That kept her busy.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Jared, did I miss any questions? I'm sorry, I was not really looking at the screen. Did it?
There was just one more question that Lisa had. She asked if he had ever passed out on the machine. So Patrick, did you ever get maybe feel like you had to if you ever fainted, or if you ever felt like you were going to faint?
One time at the clinic, when I was doing dialysis at the clinic, I did pass out.
Okay.
They stood me up a little too quick right afterwards, and blood just rushed, and kind of woke up laying down again. And I'm like, what happened? Didn't know anything. And once at home, when we first started doing dialysis, my pressure really dropped horribly. And we were still new at it. We didn't know all the sounds and all the beeps and lights that were flashing. So between being on the phone with the EMTs, just in case, and her being on the phone with the online nurse, she knew what she was doing, even though she freaked out a lot. She had and she took care of me. Yeah.
By the time EMS got here, I had his pressure back up.
Oh, did you
But-
did?
Yeah.
All right.
But it was
Very
scary.
nice. You're like, I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, Chris Acosta is asking, did Alan make you a bat to celebrate the big day?
No, he didn't make me a bat, but I did get him a stone. We did get him a stone on Riverwalk.
Oh yeah, on Riverwalk.
All right. All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
gotta check that out. I have to go
Yeah.
there and take a look
All
at
right.
that.
It kind of
That's
reminds me
cool.
of like a prayer rock. You know, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a memory block in the Riverwalk down by Curtis Hickson.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Very cool.
Okay. Yeah. So, that brings me to this question also. I know you guys' story got a lot of media coverage. And so oftentimes, I know my situation got a lot of media coverage too. I had my transplant back in Chicago. People would recognize me from the newspaper articles, from being on the news. That was happening a lot. And the funny part about it is when it would happen when I was in uniform and working. And they're like, are you that cop that had the kidney transplant? And I'm like, huh? Because sometimes I wouldn't want to say because I'm in uniform. I'm like, yeah, that was me. They're like, oh my God. So that's so awesome. Congratulations. And then they go into, so let me tell you about, maybe someone in their family who's dealing with something or just something great that happened to them. Has anything like that happened with you guys since, since the transplant?
Not for us.
Not for us. We haven't really been out too much.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
going to getting my clinics done, 2 or 3 times a week, and getting checkups. Maybe going out to lunch early before anybody else is out. Wearing our masks and sanitizing, but we haven't really been out that much.
Okay.
We still get phone calls every now and then about people asking questions and things like that, and we always lead them to Tampa General and things like that, so they can be a match for somebody else.
Right. How about you, Alan?
Actually, I just had something happen to me earlier today.
All right.
I was at a gas station, just filling up my truck, and there was another car on the other side of the gas pump, and the guy was pumping. And in the back window of my truck, I've got the advertisement for Beacon Bats, and he, just kind of shouted out, "Hey, are you Alan Gutcher?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Well, I can figure there's only one Beacon Bats, and I read your article in Sunday's paper." He goes, "That is just awesome." He asked me how I was feeling. I told him I was feeling great, and he goes, "You're just an inspiration to the human race." So,
Wow.
congratulations. And again, just out of the blue, I drove down the road feeling a little bit better that day.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Nice.
sure you did.
I love it. I
That's
love it.
really awesome. It does.
Yes.
It's such a wonderful experience. And so I'm sorry. And I think I saw where Mr. Acosta had another question. Jared, can you pull that up if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he was just saying that's awesome. Chris
Oh,
is also
okay.
on. Chris is also on dialysis. He was on my show last week on the Warriors Quest show, and he's saying, can't wait to find my renal angel and get a stone or something to celebrate." So that, see, that's what happens, and this is what's so cool about doing these shows is that it encourages people, especially those that are currently looking for a kidney donor. Chris is from California, and he's looking for a kidney donor, and he's watching now, and this is encouraging him. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
So actually,
yes, indeed.
we're on a kidney transplant support group on Facebook, and I actually talked to Chris one day.
Oh, you did? That's awesome.
I
Wow.
did. I told him how we found. I told him how we found our donor, and that he should get a decal made for his car.
And get some decals on his car
I know
too.
the
That's
name.
so cool.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but
he's a great guy. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's very cheery, very cheery. So Patsy, now that you mentioned that, having made that really awesome banner, has anyone been requesting of you to maybe make them one, or they might have seen yours?
I have sent one to Fort Lauderdale to another wife whose husband needed a kidney, and there's another family in St. Pete whose son needed a bone marrow transplant. So I did make one and mail it to them as well, and he did find a donor.
Wow, that's so awesome.
So
wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's just, it's so great when something can downward spiral into someone else being blessed. You know what I mean? Something like that. I think that that is such a blessing. And I'm looking at Patrick's shirt. My daughter actually got me a shirt that says that too. Does that say I run on spare parts?
Yep.
Nice.
And who made you that cool shirt? Let me guess. Where'd you get your shirt?
This one, she made them for us.
Nice.
We wore them for surgery day.
All right.
And Alan, do you have a twin to that?
I have a twin to that and another one. So on surgery day, I gave up my spare, I believe is what it read. But the one that is really true and dear to my heart is Patsy made me another one that says, of course I'm an organ donor. Who wouldn't want a piece of this?
Okay.
Nice. I love it.
I love that.
I promised my wife I wouldn't be changing the oil in my car on that shirt. That one is a hanger up or in the closet, and that goes out in public and not out in the backyard to go to work.
Wow, I love it. Wow. Wow, it's just been such an amazing story. And I personally just have one last question for each of you. And for you, Patrick, I'd just like to ask if there were anything that you could say to the audience and obviously to the world, because there will be many people that will see this, with regard to people waiting on a transplant and knowing how you felt during that time, knowing how I know I felt, what would you say to encourage them?
That not to give up, never lose hope, because it's going to happen, and hopefully it happens soon for you. But we know it's tough. Dialysis is horrible sometimes, and it's a hard process on everybody that you know in your family. But as long as you keep your head up and just wait it out, because hopefully, who knows, somebody might be behind your car and be the next Alan.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Yes, that's beautiful. That's perfect. And so, Alan, same question, but as far as what would you say to those who are actually apprehensive about organ donation?
I would encourage them to not be apprehensive at all. It's really an amazing feeling knowing that, again, you're helping somebody, whether you're a living donor or even if you register as an organ donor once you pass away. A person that donates themselves to other people can influence 80 other people with their body once they're not using it anymore. So it's just an incredible feeling knowing that I'm hoping to able to carry on Patrick and Patsy's legacy forward, and then you don't know where that legacy goes on. I just got this human body for as long as I'm on this planet, and then I don't need it anymore. But if somebody else can use it, then so be it.
Awesome. Wow. And were you, by the way, already an organ donor via your driver's license?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course. That's so true. So true. So beautiful, Alan. And oh my gosh, it's just so many people waiting on transplants. In fact, here in Florida alone, there's almost 4,700 people waiting on kidneys. And nationally, about, I believe the last time I checked the stats, it was about 93,000 people.
Right.
Yeah, that's about right.
Staggering.
93,000 people.
Yeah.
And I know there's more difficulty with living donation. I get the apprehension, but the way to get past that, and I'm with LifeLink as well, guys. I volunteer with LifeLink as well. And I tell every time I do a speaking engagement, you have to educate yourself. And the only way to do that is to get with, the National Kidney Foundation, to talk to people who are versed in that, so that we can try, and with us, with LifeLink, so that we can try and help dispel some of those myths and misconceptions.
Right. Amen.
And that's the only way, because if you don't educate yourself on it, automatically that fear is going to come in, And so I think what I have a little harder time grasping is why people are apprehensive to be donors in death. You know what I mean? Because I love that shirt, that saying that we have out there too on shirts. Don't take your organs to heaven with you. Lord knows we need them here.
Right?
Yes. We don't need this body. We won't need it. You know what I mean? And so one person, as you said, Alan, can save 8 lives. 8 lives. That's a lot of love. That's phenomenal. I mean, and God gives us this body, not just for the pleasures of ourselves, but to help others. So I just want to say thank you so much for what you unselfishly did for Patrick and his wife, because what you did, you can never thank a person enough. I'm that one. Thank you. My godson says, God, my don't thank you. I'm like, I gotta say it one more time. You can never say thank you to someone who does that, right? You just can't.
To the day you die.
You guys are bound for life in that way. And Patrick and Patsy, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Godspeed to you, Patrick, and your you think you feel good now. Just wait. You ain't seen nothing yet. You're going to feel better and better and better. Trust me. Yeah, it's going to get even better, and your meds will taper down, and he's going to be ready for you to coach him get him ready, Patsy, for a marathon or something.
We're ready for for real this time.
Yeah, you're going to do great, and I'm just so grateful to you guys. Jared, did you have any final words?
No, this has been great. This is absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Last thing with you guys, I want to share what I always told my godson was my signature Bible scripture for him. And it's from John. I don't know if you've heard it before, but it's from John, the book of John 15:13. Greater love has no one than someone that would lay his life down for a friend. I love that scripture, because that's exactly what happened.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. God bless you all. Have a great 4th of July together. And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. I mean, it's just so amazing. Again,
Oh my gosh, yeah. So encouraging.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to, I know last time I did the show about, like I said, my journey, but when I heard that, I was just like, oh my God, I've just got to get them on the show, because it was that random act.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There was a
random act of kindness. Yeah.
Yes, random act of kindness, and just how everything played out. That was definitely
divine
intervention.
Yeah,
it was divinity. It was divinity. It was a miracle. It was just a miracle. And so I just want to periodically keep hammering this in about, showing people who have done these type of things, who have blessed people that they did not even know. And so again, I would urge and employ everyone who is not familiar with organ donation to get in touch with LifeLink. In some states, it's Donate Life. Same thing, same organization.
Okay.
They will mail you brochures about it. You can read about it. And of course, and this is more so even with regard to, totally with regard to deceased donation in the event of your death. And a person can be very specific about what they want and don't want. For instance, there's so much more to just organ donation. There's tissue, there's corneas. Some people have told me that I've signed up, leave me with my eyeballs, okay? They can take whatever else they want. Leave me with my eyeballs. Can I do that? And I'm like, absolutely. It's very specific on the website.
Nice.
You say, I don't want my corneas. I don't want my tissue taken. It's your choice. And even when you sign up as a donor, and when God forbid your time comes or whatever, there is an order of process with this, guys. It is not like, oh, they're gonna run in here and they're gonna take my organs and nobody's gonna, No, it doesn't work like that. That's illegal. It does not. Now, I'm not saying certain things don't happen. Bad things. Bad people can do bad things. However, when these things are legit, and they are legitimate in these hospitals, we're talking about the Tampa General places and these other hospitals, there is a protocol. The doctor that deals with that person has nothing to do with that process. They have to call in LifeLink or Donate Life, Gift of Hope. There's a lot of people that have to be contacted. So I just wanted you guys to know that, because for those that are apprehensive, I pray that you research it a bit more. And I just want to say thank you all so much for joining Jared and I. Jared, thank you, brother, for being my co-host tonight. And please check out Jared on Warriors Quest. Check out Steve Belcher, Jim Myers, Lisa Baxter Show. I mean, we got this whole thing out here covered. We just need you guys to back us up, because we're out here trying to get this word out and share the good news about those who have been blessed with the gift of life. So until we meet again, be blessed, stay safe. God loves you, and so do I. Have a good night.
I don't want money. I don't want cars. I don't want money. I don't want cars. You are, the time the best is too fast. The truth wrapped up in excuses. You are the weeds that pull the group back. The strings upon my heart, but you know that, 'cause you pull the